Throughout history, there have been people who have committed some of the most heinous crimes fathomable. For those crimes, they have been convicted and sentenced to death. Welcome to Death Row Executions, where we take a look into the lives of society's worst offenders. And now, your host, Air.
इस बात को तो मैं सदा बिना छिपाए कहता रहा हूं कि मैं गांधी जी के सिद्धांतों के विरोधी सिद्धांतों का प्रचार कर रहा हूं। मेरा यह पूर्ण विश्वास रहा है कि अहिंसा का अति प्रचार हिंदू जाति को अत्यंत निर्बल बना देगा। इसलिए मैंने निश्चय किया कि सार्वजनिक कार्य में लगूं और अपने जैसे विचारों के व्यक्तियों का संगठन करूं।
Nathuram Godse was born on May 19, 1910 in India. He grew up in an Orthodox Brahmin family to parents Vinayak and Lakshmi. Their religion was Hindu, but as a Brahmin, that meant they ranked highest out of the 4 social classes within Hindu India: the priests, the warrior class, the Vaishya class, which is the class of traders, and the Shudra class, which is the class of laborers. The Brahmin priest class believe that they inherit greater ritual purity and are capable of performing important and vital tasks the religion requires. Members in this group are also tasked with reciting sacred scriptures and considered themselves to be spiritual elite. Now, with the context of the class Nathuram's family was in, his family still believed that they were cursed. Nathuram's parents had 4 daughters before he was born who all survived. They also had 4 boys, but they all died in infancy. His parents Vinayak and Lakshmi believed that the male children in their family were cursed, so when he was born, they felt the only thing that would get rid of the curse was to raise Nathuram as a girl. Nathuram was named Ramchandra at birth, and his parents gave him a nose ring. It wasn't until his parents gave birth to another boy who survived that they allowed Nathuram to be a boy. The name Nathuram came about because his nickname from Ramchandra was Ram, and Nat meant nose ring, so his name meant Ram who wears a nose ring. With the family curse believing to have gone away, Nathuram's family now believed he had special powers. The family had their own personal goddess, and Nathuram would sit in front of her and go into a trance, acting as a medium between the goddess and his family. Although his family felt he was gifted at home, academics were a different story. He grew up to be athletic despite him being raised as a girl, but did not do well in school. One of the first jobs he tried to get required an exam, and he was not able to pass it. He had aspirations because it was a government job, but it was just hard for him, and he eventually dropped out of high school. During this time, Gandhi was popular, and Nathuram and his brother Gopal used to idolize him. This changed, however, when he got older and felt that Gandhi was being too nice to Muslims and favoring them over Hindus. Gandhi had incited the non-cooperation movement in order to induce the British government of India to grant self-government. The movement was one of their first large-scale acts of civil disobedience. Nathuram felt empowered and influenced by Gandhi only because of him wanting a British-free India. This movement, however, caused different groups to form who also wanted recognition. On one end, there was the All India Muslim League, and there were also groups that wanted an all-Hindu India. The Hindu organizations did not want to cooperate or work with Muslims at all, and despised the fact that Gandhi was cordial with the groups and willing to work with them against British rule. In 1929, at the age of 19, Nathuram's family moved to Ratnagiri. Here, he grew to idolize someone new: political prisoner Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. Vinayak was a leader of an extremist Hindu nationalist party called Savardeshak Hindu Sabha, which means Hindu Assembled for the entire country. He and his followers did not support Gandhi's Indian freedom movement against British rule in India. They did not believe in non-violent civil disobedience either. He believed that there was nothing wrong with being violent, and the Hindus should do whatever necessary to gain control over the British. Vinayak was arrested and convicted of waging a conspiracy against the king-emperor and for the abetment to murder someone. In 1921, he was transferred to a jail in Ratnagiri, and while imprisoned, he wrote his own theory called Essentials of Hindutva, which focused on a Hindu society. Vinayak was released from prison in 1924, but he was not able to travel and was restricted to live in a bungalow provided by the government in Ratnagiri up until 1937. Over the next few years, he met influential people such as Gandhi, Dr. Ambedkar, and in 1929, none other than Nathuram Godse, who agreed with all of his works and beliefs. After spending time with Vinayak, Nathuram briefly stayed with his father in Sangli, where he began working as a tailor and joined another organization called the RSS. the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which was a Hindu nationalist organization. He met up with Vinayak in the late 1930s again and was tasked with leading protests in Hyderabad. During one protest, he was arrested and had to spend 1 year in prison. Upon his release from prison, and now in his 30s, Nathuram vowed to remain celibate and focus on the movement along with reading and learning. In 1944, he and a friend started their own newspaper called Agrani. The purpose of the newspaper was to spread Hindu propaganda. Initially, the newspaper struggled, but it started to gain momentum when tension increased between Hindus and Muslims. Nathuram and his partner renamed their newspaper from Agrani to Hindu Rashtra and moved to a larger office, earning much more than they ever had before. In 1947, after fighting for so many years, India finally gained their independence. With the independence came a portion of Pakistan becoming a new territory for a Muslim state. This outraged many Hindu nationalists, and Nathuram in particular was very disturbed when Gandhi made it known to the public that he would be fasting to protest the Indian government withholding funds to Pakistan that they had promised. Gandhi's fast/hunger strike began on January 14, 1948, and at this time he was staying in Delhi at the Birla Mansion. Gandhi actually arrived at the Birla Mansion on September 9, 1947. It was noted that Gandhi would spend the whole day talking to people, spinning a charkha, and praying. He always started his day and ended his day with prayer. He prayed using both Hindu and Muslim scriptures because that was his way of stressing the unity of the religions. Although he was fasting and at peace, angry people who were against him would shout outside of the mansion that they wanted Gandhi to die. On January 13, 1948, Gandhi was quoted saying, "Death for me would be a glorious deliverance rather than I should be a helpless witness to the destruction of India, Hinduism, Sikhism, and Islam." He then explained that his dream was for the Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, and Muslims of all India to live together in unity. The following day, on January 14th, when Gandhi boarded a train, Hindus planned an attack to kill Gandhi, but their attack failed, and one of the conspirators was caught. Nathuram, his brother, and his partner in crime, Nayaran Apte, were there but were not caught.
On September 9th, 1947, Gandhi moved into the Delhi home of his friend, the industrialist and Congress Party supporter Ghanshyam Das Birla. In January of the following year, Gandhi began another indefinite fast, saying he would only eat if he saw a plan to stop the continuing violence. Hindus who had fled persecution in Pakistan were dumbfounded by Gandhi's empathy for Muslims, which was inherent in the second, indirect goal of his fasting.
Gandhi's hunger strike was also aimed at forcing the Indian government to release Pakistan's share of assets from the treasury of British India.
Gandhiji, that stood in favor of Pakistan and said that I shall go on hunger strike, I shall die, and the 55 crores should be given. Then only I shall release my fast. At that moment, some youths like me decided, you will not die of hunger strike, you will die of bullets now.
In response to the attack, Gandhi said, "If I am to die by the bullet of a madman, I must do so smiling. There must be no anger within me. God must be in my heart and on my lips." A week after the attack, Nathuram and Nayaran returned to Delhi, but this time with a Beretta automatic pistol. It was January 30th, 1948, at around 5 o'clock p.m. Gandhi, who I had mentioned was fasting, did not have his full strength, and his great nieces were helping him walk around on the mansion grounds. He was on his way to a prayer meeting and was greeted by a crowd of supporters. Nathuram was in front of the crowd. He bowed in front of Gandhi, pulled out his pistol, and then shot him 3 times in the stomach and chest. Before falling to the ground, Gandhi raised his hands up in front of his face, which was a normal Hindu form of greeting. Some say he cried out God twice. As people swarmed and attacked Nathuram, everyone forgot to call for help, so Gandhi was still lying on the floor and he died in under 30 minutes without getting any medical attention. Onlookers were able to get the gun away from Nathuram and restrained him until cops arrived. He was arrested and sent to jail to await his trial. His trial began on May 27, 1948, and he was tried with other co-defendants including Narayan at the Punjab High Court in Peterhof, Simia, India. During trial, Nathuram gave a long speech, and many said it was eloquent as well. He expressed his devotion to the Hindu people, and he mentioned, "I took courage in both my hands and I did fire the shots at Gandhiji on 30th January 1948 on the prayer grounds of Birla House. I do say that my shots were fired at the person whose policy and action had brought wrack and ruin and destruction to millions of Hindus." Nathuram brought up how he didn't like the fact that Gandhi wanted to create a new language called Hindustani. The goal for the Hindustani language would be to combine Hindu and the official language of Pakistan. The main reason above everything that bothered him was Gandhi's support of Muslims. Gandhi is being referred to as the father of the nation, but if that is so, he has failed in his paternal duty inasmuch as he has acted very treacherously to the nation by his consenting to the partitioning of it. His inner voice, his spiritual power, his doctrine of nonviolence, of which so much is made of, proved to be powerless. I thought to myself and foresaw, I shall be totally ruined, and the only thing I could expect from the people would be nothing but hatred, and that I shall have lost all my honor, even more valuable than my life, if I were to kill Gandhiji. But at the same time, I felt that the Indian politics in the absence of Gandhiji would surely be proved practical, able to retaliate, and would be powerful with armed forces. No doubt my own future would be totally ruined, but the nation would be saved from the inroads of Pakistan. Gandhi's sons tried to prevent Nathuram from a death sentence because they said it was against their father's teachings, but their cries and Nathuram's speech was not powerful enough. The court found Nathuram and his partner in crime, Narayan Apte, guilty and sentenced them both to death by hanging on February 10, 1949. On November 15, 1949, Nathuram and Narayan were both hanged at Ambala prison. When Gandhi died, the Indian Prime Minister Pandit Nehru went on the radio and said, "The father of the nation is no more. Now that the light has gone out of our lives, I do not quite know what to tell you and how to say it. Our beloved leader is no more." There were over 1 million people that lined up to the funeral procession near the bank of the Jumna River. The state president of the Hindu Mahasabha was quoted saying, "Nathuram Godse was a part of the Hindu Mahasabha, and we are all followers of his ideologies. BJP and RSS have avoided discussing him as they fear the political repercussions of openly backing Godse. However, 60% of the youth today believe in Godse's ideologies, not Gandhi's. We observed his death anniversary to spread awareness about his ideologies. To date, many people still celebrate Nathuram Godse on his death anniversary." Thank you all for watching another episode of Death Row Executions. Also, please don't forget to check out my new website that includes some of my new merch, and I also have a few new designs with celebrity mugshots on them. Thank you guys all for the support.